She spoke with authority and wisdom. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't soften her message or apologize. It's time to reclaim your voice. Verse 26 says that she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. You know what that means? It means she speaks. She uses her voice. She teaches. She doesn't wait to be invited. So let's talk about what it is that you have been afraid to say. So let's do a quick recap. First, we learned that she delegated. She created wealth. She cared for herself. And now we know that she spoke. She used her voice. So if you've ever swallowed your words, softened your message, or stayed silent in order to keep the peace, this episode is going to gut punch you in the best way. Hey, I want to remind you, if you hadn't gotten to it yet, go check the description box below. There's a link to a free printable Bible study workbook that goes along with this series. You don't want to miss it. So the first point I want to make today is that she opens her mouth with wisdom. In verse 26, it says that she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Let's look at that phrase, opens her mouth. That is an intentional, bold, unapologetic perspective. The next phrase, with wisdom, that means that she's not just talking to fill up space. She actually has something valuable to say. And then the next phrase, teaching of kindness, basically means that she instructs, she leads, she corrects when necessary. This woman had authority in her voice. Let's just think a minute about what that would have looked like for the Proverbs 31 woman to be using her voice in her household or in her community, the weight that her words carried and the respect she commanded. You know, there's a saying that when the quietest person in the room starts to speak, everyone listens. Why is that? I think because there's so many times that we feel this need to fill the empty space. Silence makes people uncomfortable. And so we find a lot of people just jabbering away incessantly about things that don't even matter. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have social conversation. I personally am not one for idle conversation. I don't have the space for it in my life. I, however, do love deep, intentional connection. I love conversations that get somewhere or have deep and intensive meaning. I don't like shallow relationships. I like deep relationships. I don't like shallow conversations. I like deep conversations. I like conversations about God or life or whatever, but they have to have some kind of depth to them. I think so many times we see people just having diarrhea of the mouth, if you will, to just feel, and it's because they feel like they need to say something because silence makes them uncomfortable. But so many times when you're the one who's always talking, sometimes it is hard to get people to actually hear what it is that you have to say because you're always talking. They're easily dismissive of what you have to say, even if what you have to say is important. I'm not saying that you should start being quiet. However, I am encouraging you that when you open your mouth, have something to say. You know, let's not talk about the housewives of Beverly Hills all the time. Like, let's have something significant and impactful to say. And I'm not saying you have to do that all the time. There's always a place of community and different relationships and different connections where you may have a friend who the two of you get together so you can talk about the housewives of Beverly Hills. I've never seen the show. I have no idea. It's just, I don't know, it popped in my head. But there's also those relationships where you do go deep and you have to discern which ones are which. And it's not that one is bad and one is good. It's just that if you want to carry authority in your voice, those who carry authority have something impactful to give. They have something impactful to say. They're not just running their mouth just for the heck of it. They don't feel uncomfortable in silence. They don't feel the need to, I must interject here and share my opinion. They're confident in their identity of who they are to the point where they don't feel the need to prove to you that they have something to give or that they're good enough. They know they are. So if you're walking securely in your identity, when you have something to share, you share it and people will listen. However, if you're not walking securely in your identity and you're trying to fill the silence and trying to fill the void because it makes you uncomfortable or it might make the other person uncomfortable, that is going back into that approval addict of like, I can't let them feel weird around me, so I'm going to fill this space. My husband used to tell me one of the biggest things in sales is the first one who speaks loses. Like when you're in a sales negotiation, you present whatever it is you're presenting, and then you get quiet. The first one who speaks loses the deal. And so he has become a master at saying whatever it is he needs to say and then shutting up. Because he knows if he keeps talking, he's talking out of a sale. He's talking out of a business deal. He's talking himself out of success. It's the same thing in any kind of relationship. That is a strong psychological tactic to hold the authority and the power in a conversation. However, I'm not trying to teach you manipulative tactics. What I am trying to show you is that when you speak, have authority in your voice, have something to say. Don't just talk to fill the empty space. Now, that kind of leads me into my second point. While I'm telling you not to talk to fill the empty space, I also want to bring attention to the lie that we have been told that good, godly women are to stay soft, silent, and agreeable. Now, I want to say this right up front. I'm not saying that all of a sudden you should be aggressive and in people's faces and just be a butt for the sake of being a butt. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that you have a voice and you have a right to use it. If you are making yourself small, then you're diminishing who you are and you're diminishing your call in life. So where does this come from? Where does this idea come from that women should stay small and quiet? Well, it comes from patriarchal theology that women should be silent in the church. Remember one of our previous episodes, I briefly mentioned that where they take that one little verse of women should stay silent in the church and create this whole theology around it. When in reality, if you study that out in context, it was about that church particularly, because that church had all kind of witchcraft and they had a mess going on. They had a lot of griping within each other. It was competition. They had gifts, but they were misusing them. And Paul was like, look, you guys have got this all messed up. You guys got this all wrong. Let's start from the beginning and give you some foundation here that you can build on. But that one little verse has been exploited into keeping women in the church especially, quiet, manipulated, subdued, defeated. This submission has been twisted into making women be voiceless, and it's not what God intended. So how does this show up in our everyday life? Well, swallowing your words, softening your message. And I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for that. Like, I know me personally, if I am feeling emotional about something or if something is making me feel angry, I need to soften my message because I know I can tear somebody up into a million shreds with just a few words. So I need to soften my message and I've had to learn how to deal with conflict from a place of love and care of the other person, not from, let me just rip you to shreds because you've offended me. Like, I could easily get into that mode and that position. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to tear the other person apart, but I know how easy I can. So I've had to learn how to soften my message. So I'm not saying that there's not ever a place for it. What I'm talking about is in the context of making yourself small. Making yourself small and making yourself not have a voice where you don't speak up for yourself when you should. And women do that all the time. We do it by saying maybe. We don't really want to say yes or no because we're so afraid of hurting the other person or not meeting their expectation of us. We want them to feel good. It's that approval addict thing again, that people pleaser. We don't really want to say no, but we can't say yes, so we say maybe. We also apologize a lot. We say sorry, I'm sorry, but we always say sorry. Here's another one that you probably don't think about. We add the word just in everything we say. I just wanted to say this. I just wanted to call you. When we add that word just is a filler word. It's a filler word, and it diminishes any of your authority that you have. This is a skill that I actually learned years ago, to quit saying just in my emails or text messages. You will almost never hear me or see me say just. No. That diminishes my authority. Remove the word. I wanted to reach out. When we put that just in our sentence, I want you to listen to the difference. I just wanted to reach out to see if you could make it Friday for coffee versus I wanted to reach out to see if you could make it Friday for coffee. The only difference in the two sentences is that word just. But one sounds like I'm begging and I'm meek and I'm like, I don't want to poke the bear. The other is, hey, I wanted to see if you wanted, are we still getting together Friday for coffee? It's an authoritative stance. It's you using your voice, and it shows strength in your voice, and it shows authority in your voice. It shows authority in who you are. It shows identity. Another way it shows up is just being silent when we really disagree with something. We just don't say anything at all. Now, I have learned that not everything requires my response. If someone is coming at me, I don't have the space. I don't have the space anymore to address every little thing that comes my way. Not everything demands a response from me. However, if there's something that is going on in my life that I totally disagree with, if I stay silent and I don't speak up for myself, I have no one to complain to but myself. If there's something going on in your life that you totally disagree with, you have the right to say so. You have the right to speak up and say, no, I don't agree with what's going on here. I don't agree with that. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get your way, but if you don't say anything, you definitely won't. The belief behind this mindset is that a good Christian woman doesn't challenge anybody. They don't correct, they don't speak up, because that's not kind. That's not being submissive. And it's backed by an orphan spirit that asks the questions, well, can I speak? Will they like what I have to say? But what if I'm wrong? Or what if they reject me? But a sonship identity and a daughter of the king mentality actually declares that, no, I have wisdom and I speak it. My voice matters and I don't need permission. We start to lose our voice out of fear of rejection, fear of being too much, fear of having conflict, and this need to make sure that everyone around us is happy. In today's society, there is a dynamic that I think also plays a part. I think that as Christian women, we don't want to be that woman. We don't want to be that woman who's just obstinate just for the sake of being obstinate, or ornery, or just hard to get along with. We don't want to be that woman who's constantly complaining or nagging, or, we want to be a good wife. We want to be a good woman. We want to be a good mother. Of course we do. Of course you do. This isn't about being good or bad. This is about making ourselves small and diminishing ourselves, diminishing the calling that God has on our life, diminishing the person that we are destined to be, the person we were meant to be. This is about diminishing that person, letting that person die a very slow and brutal death quietly, and missing an amazing journey that's been laid out for us if we would just have the courage to take it. And I think we most notably see it in not just the church setting, but in our marriages. How many times have you been quiet just to not rock the apple cart at home? We do it all the time. I do it all the time. But here's the difference. I can be quiet because I don't have a voice and I can't say anything. And if I say anything, it's going to cause World War III and all this stuff. So I can approach it from, I don't have a voice. Or I can approach it from a powerful position of, I'm going to choose not to say anything at this time because it would not serve me or my husband or my marriage or my household well. I'm going to choose to be quiet. There's a huge difference between not having a voice and then choosing to be quiet because it doesn't serve you well. There's been lots of times where I have chose to be quiet. If my husband and I were having an argument or a disagreement, I have chose to be quiet out of kindness for him, out of kindness and love of our marriage and our relationship. Because if I'd have said what I was really thinking, it definitely wouldn't have served me well. It wouldn't have served him well, and it would have caused a million times worse situation between us. So it's not about, but I didn't do it because I didn't have a voice. I did it because I chose not to. That is a position of power. That is a position of identity. That is not this meek and I don't have a voice. I can't say anything. There's a difference between I can't say anything and the idea that I'm not going to. Do you hear the difference? I can't say anything. I'm choosing not to say anything because I want to be kind to you. It's a huge difference. One is a victim mentality, an orphan spirit origination. The other is authority and identity and a daughter of the king position. One is a commander. The other one is death. So when I talk to you about using your voice, I'm not encouraging you to go stir up strife. I'm encouraging you to stand in who you are. Use your voice. You have one. God gave you one, and he meant for you to use it. But he didn't mean for you to use it as a weapon to manipulate or tear down others. He meant for you to use it as a weapon for the kingdom, to bring kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. He meant for you to use it to bring you into your destiny. He meant for you to use it to teach wisdom and kindness. He meant for you to use it to impart life into others. Use your voice. You have one. That brings me to my third point. How do you reclaim it? Well, the framework around this is to start identifying where you have silenced yourself. And I'm not talking about choosing to be quiet. I'm talking about silencing yourself, putting a gag order or a muffler or tape around your mouth where you can't or you don't have a voice. Where have you silenced yourself? And then you start speaking from identity. The first step in reclaiming your voice, identify where you lost it. Is it with your spouse? Is it with your kids, your parents, work, church, or is it with your friends? What are you not saying that needs to be said? The second step is to identify the false belief that you're holding that's keeping you silent. Are you thinking, if I speak up, then they'll reject me, be angry, leave, think I'm difficult? Then start to reclaim it. What's the stronghold here? What's the lie? And then replace it. What's the truth? Step 3 is to start practicing speaking from identity, not from approval seeking. Let me give you an example of what approval seeking voice sounds like, okay? I'm sorry, but, maybe this is wrong, but, I don't know if this makes any sense, but now let me give you an example of someone speaking from identity, what that sounds like. I need to say something. Here's what I think. I disagree. It's two completely different vernacular. One's got a lot of filler words that diminish your authority. One is just very direct. It's kind of plain, kind of not fancy. It's just point blank, but it carries a lot of weight, carries a lot of authority. It's not mean. It's not disparaging the other person. It shows that you understand who you are and that your voice matters. The fourth step I want to bring up, start small. Start small and start building. I don't want you to go start bombasting your husband over 20 years of issues. Do not do that unless you are looking for a divorce. Don't do that. Don't start confronting him about 20 years of issues that you've been silent about. What you can do is you can actually just start practicing saying no. Start saying no over something. You can practice stating a preference. You can practice disagreeing. You can build that muscle over time. It's just like going to the gym or anything else. If you start going gangbusters day 1, you're going to fail. You're going to fail spectacularly. But you do a little bit at a time. You build that muscle. You build that authority. You build that confidence in your own voice and having a voice that God gave you. Build that up. And then you can speak with confidence whenever, regardless of the situation. I want to talk to you quickly about the difference between kindness and people pleasing. If you're a people pleaser, your thought process is that, well, I'll say what keeps the peace, even if it isn't true. But kindness enables you to speak in a way, you speak the truth in a way that actually honors both of you. I can tell you, you can't do it without the Holy Spirit. I know I can't. I know myself way too much to know that I can't do it without him. But he's so faithful and he's so good that when you start embarking on this new journey of using your voice, he will show up and help you. Ask him. You can be kind and direct. You can be loving and honest. They're not mutually exclusive of each other. So my fourth point today is practical application. What can you do today? What can you do this week? I want you to pick some specific areas to practice. Practice saying no without over-explaining. Practice stating a preference without apologizing. Practice disagreeing without softening. Practice correction without qualifying. Practice teaching or leading without asking permission. So here's what's going to happen when you start using your voice. Some people won't like it. They've benefited from your silence. You may feel guilty. Your nervous system will scream. Do it anyway. You might overcorrect. That pendulum swing. It's okay. It's okay. It's a process. You're learning. You're strengthening that muscle. If you overcorrect and swing the pendulum all the way over the other side, it's okay. Take account of it. Course correct. It will get easier and your voice will become natural again. So here's a question for you to think about. What would you say if you truly believed that your voice mattered? I want to remind you that you're not being difficult. You're not being a difficult woman. You're not being that woman. You're being honest. You're stepping into your destiny. You're not being unkind. You're being truthful. If this feels super overwhelming, let me give you a little brief. Let me ease you out of that. Just practice doing it on one thing. Just one thing. One thing this week. Practice using your voice just once. Say the thing you've been swallowing. State the preference. Disagree. Don't apologize. Just do one thing. See what happens. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about the Proverbs 31 woman and her marriage. Verse 11 says that her husband trusts her. Not that she's earning his trust, but we're going to talk about what it really looks like to operate as a trusted partner instead of a performing wife. Your voice is a gift. The world needs to hear what it is that you have to say. So stop being silent and stop hiding it. Hey, listen, if you've gotten value out of today's episode, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like it, leave a comment below, share it with a friend. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.